So the Old Trafford curse continues. What an absolute embarrassment for Chelsea. Pathetic, really concerning, turgid start to the game. It was just really, really bad tonight, I think, from Chelsea. There's kind of no getting around it, how concerning, especially the start to the game was, and so many factors of the game as well that have kind of led on from concerns I've had previously so far this season. It's a really damaging defeat. I really do feel that. And some of you may feel that's hyperbolic, which is fair enough. But I don't know how anyone could watch what happened tonight and not at least be concerned by how Chelsea looked in that game from basically the kickoff. Yes, there is the Old Trafford of it all. Yes, there is the feeling that that ground and the things that happen at that ground are so bizarre and so puzzling. It feels like whenever Chelsea now turn up to that ground, they are incapable of putting their best foot forward. It looks like our players on many occasions over the past 12 years, and now it's going to be 13, have never played with each other before, have never met before. And yeah, that's illogical, but that doesn't mean we can't look at the game in front of us and still criticise it. This is my match review. Please do give me your thoughts on what you think happened tonight, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Yeah, it's a very familiar feeling to walk away from a game at Old Trafford with Chelsea disappointing us. But I think the nature of things that happened tonight are just very, very concerning. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to process the game. But we still are like maybe an hour or so after full time when I'm recording this. I mean, where do we start? The game was effectively killed, or at least from a supporter kind of emotional feeling, looked dead in the opening 10 minutes. And that is always a very damaging thing. But I can't get away from the feeling watching Chelsea from the first whistle of this game. How unprepared they looked. How ill-equipped they looked to deal with what was being confronted. What they had to confront with this Man United team. And this is a Man United team that you've got to keep on repeating it. They've lost to Grimsby this season. They were well beaten by Man City, who by no means are flawless this season. They have obviously come off the back of a really, really bad season. Ruben Amorim has many problems. And I actually don't think tonight's win changes much for them, because I really think tonight was a story of Chelsea's self-implosion rather than Man United's brilliance. I really do, and maybe some Man United fans may disagree with that, but to me, I mean, I look at this game and look at the way Chelsea were so clueless tactically in so many ways, and how bad they looked from the off. And you've got to look at it from that perspective and really question how Chelsea are set up in these games. And why I say it's a continuation of what I've seen is, I spoke about this before. We didn't start the Crystal Palace game well. We didn't start the West Ham game well. We were 1-0 down very early on in that, but luckily recovered quickly because West Ham, in part, are very terrible. Of course, Fulham, I mean, it basically took us until half-time. I think it was literally on the stroke of half-time when João Pedro headed in from a corner, but we didn't really turn up in that first half and could have been 1-0 down in that game. Brentford didn't turn up to the second half. Ironically, the Bayern game is the one we did start the game off strongly in midweek, but of course we lost that. Tonight was a shambles. Rob Sanchez, obviously, there's no getting around it. He deserves a lot of criticism for so much that went wrong tonight from the off because of his rush of blood moments. And I spoke about Rob Sanchez, right, that he has had improvement at Chelsea. But there's no denying that it was just kind of like logical looking at long-term evidence with Rob Sanchez and why I still had concerns about him, and why I think you speak to a lot of Chelsea fans, and I think even Chelsea fans that are more positive still have that reservation about Rob Sanchez. And the reason they do is because there is more evidence of Rob Sanchez as he was tonight than there is of him against PSG. You may not like that if you're a real big Rob Sanchez fan, but I look at the rush of blood moment tonight and it reminds me of the rush of blood moment against Man City last season. It reminds me of the rush of blood moment he had at this same stadium last year when he cost us a penalty that gave Man United the lead and we almost lost that game. It's these things that we see from Rob Sanchez time and time again that make him vulnerable, make him a risk for Chelsea every time we play a game, and why over the course of a long season I just concerned that waiting around for Mike Penders when you had Mike Maignan there as an option over the summer. I mean, it's why I was really disappointed we didn't get that deal over the line. And I'm not saying that without Rob Sanchez, everyone else is fine tonight. Obviously, there was so much wrong. I mean, from back to front, there are very few players tonight who come away with this from this game, really any, with any credit. And that also includes the coach, because once that red card happens, yes, your plans and the whole game is thrown into a blender, basically. And Maresca has to act, and I'm not surprised at all that Esteval is sacrificed for Philip Jorgensen, because you have to bring on a goalkeeper. What puzzled me was Maresca's decision to make another sub on top of that and to bring on Tosin Adarabioyo for Pedro Neto, which effectively cut Chelsea's attack off, at the head, really. I mean, it basically rendered us useless in that first half for most of it. Incapable of getting out of our own half, which we were already struggling to do before the red card in that opening period. I didn't understand it at all. It felt like Maresca panicked and he had a rush of blood moment, like just really clueless. And then because we went to a back five, kind of permanently a back five, Ollie Glanville made this point, and it's right. And if you watch Chelsea in the game, we look so rocked and we look so clueless in the system as well. I think that's the thing that concerned me. I've seen teams, and I've seen Chelsea teams even in the past, go down to 10 men. Newcastle away last season, at the end of last season, we lost the game, but we didn't completely implode in that game. It was the nature, we couldn't string two passes together. The players looked completely devoid of ideas. They looked completely devoid of direction. At set pieces, the both goals we conceded were just horrendous. They were absolutely horrendous. The first one, sure, you can argue whether it's offside or not. But defensively, Trev doesn't come out of that looking good. The second one, basically all of our defenders look inept, because a ball is there to be contested in the air and none of them win it, and eventually it finds its way to Casemiro at the back post. It's just simple basic things that were just lacking from Chelsea's performance from the off that just is truly puzzling. And again, you can have criticism, as many of us do, about our recruitment, about the failures of recruitment over recent years, but as a coach as well, I thought there were just many things tonight that just puzzled me from Enzo Maresca from start to finish. And as a coach who's preparing this team, who's prepared this team for big games, for big finals where we've won in recent months, I mean, I watched this game in just bewilderment, really, like how far short we were. And in some ways, we're fortunate that the Casemiro red happened, because I was watching that first half and I thought this could be 3-4-5 if Man United put the accelerator down and actually string together a few quality passes. Because Chelsea, I think maybe they bewildered Man United just how bad they were. Of course, the dynamic shifts with the Casemiro red, and Man United play a much more defensive game in the second half, where Chelsea naturally have a lot more of the ball. But I don't think that should really fool you by the nature of this game. Yeah, Trev, it's a good header in the second half, and there was at least one moment in added time when a ball gets flashed across by Reece James, Biende doesn't claim it, doesn't look convincing, and there's a scramble on. But other than that, what else was there from a Chelsea point of view that made us convinced we were going to get back in the game? And that is unacceptable against this Man United team. A Man United team that have looked inept, that have looked devoid of ideas, that tactically have looked so exposed time and again. Arsenal and Man City have already beat them. Guaranteed that Liverpool are probably going to beat them, along with many other teams. And that is why there is red flags about tonight. That's why there's red flags already about Chelsea's capacity to improve this year. I think a performance like tonight, and a performance like last weekend, and the decision making of who starts, who doesn't. I wasn't happy that Wesley Fofana started. I thought Enzo Fernandes was terrible tonight. I have to say there was that moment very late on that I have to say did trigger me a bit, where we're pressing at the edge of their box in second half added time, and Enzo Fernandes has the ball at the edge of the box, and he gets into a duel, and he realises he just can't win it, so he just decides to throw himself to the floor. It's pathetic, absolutely pathetic, embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. There's nothing about that shows leadership, that shows conviction, that shows anything close to the player that we've praised in recent times at Chelsea. Enzo Fernandes, I think, has started the season off now with this performance as well in a really concerning fashion. There were many calls from myself, Andre Santos, to start this game. Palmer, when it rains, it pours figuratively and literally in this game, because of course he's gone off with an injury. We'll wait to see how detrimental that is, but this is a concerning performance. It really is. You cannot get away from it. How unprepared Chelsea look. The fact that once again we've gone up to Man United and we failed to beat them in what is for them a very bad place, and we just look so short at the moment. We've started this post-international break period with a draw and 2 defeats, not good. And it's interesting reading some of the reactions from people who are maybe even a little bit more negative than I am, and I'm very negative about this performance, about what it could symbolise for the short and long term as well, because I think performances like tonight, it's the manner of defeats as well, just like the manner of victories. When Chelsea dismantle teams and they look incredible, or even games where maybe we don't win, but there's enough tangible things. We all watch football, we all know football. You can tell when a team looks cohesive, when it looks confident, when it looks well coached and tactically looks to be on the right path, versus when it's not. And I'm always a big advocate that you can look at numbers all you want, and you can talk about individual moments. And yeah, sure, Chelsea should have had a penalty in the first half. There was a moment shortly before the second Man United goal where João Pedro absolutely gets taken out. But I'm also in my head kind of balancing out where, yeah, sure, if that penalty gets given and it's 1-1, yeah, sure, the game maybe goes in a different direction. But that doesn't excuse our horrendous defending. That doesn't excuse the nature of this performance and how short players looked in a game that matters to us. And that is the thing that will always concern me. So individual moments are not, and things that could have gone our way, 50-50s or the refereeing decisions, sure, can be infuriating. But our general performance for me was nowhere close to acceptable enough where I can take that and I can say, yeah, sure, that was the thing that cost us today. No, what cost us today was we looked completely inept from minute one. And the coach deserves blame for that. The players deserve blame for that. And maybe if you're really harsh about it, you'll look beyond that in terms of recruitment. But it's a bad night for Chelsea. And I think the question is, have we all been fooled by thinking we're further along in our path and our journey, which is towards a Premier League title, which when you watch performances like that against teams like Man United, you just have to laugh really, because, we look so far short. So that in itself is something that we're going to have to reflect on. So that is my review. Please do give me your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. We'll be reacting more to this and obviously seeing where it goes from here. But bad night.